Welcome back, everyone, to theCUBE's coverage here in our studio in Palo Alto. I'm John Furrier, host of theCUBE. We are here as part of the special presentation from theCUBE, plus the NYSE Wired community. Brian Bauman and the entire NYSE team putting together quite the open network with theCUBE, merging in with it. This is open source content. We've got the West Coast CUBE studio here, and of course the East Coast CUBE studio at the show floor of the NYSE. And we're bringing all the content and creating a community out of it. So it's really great. Thanks for being part of us. Vishal is here. Vishal Shukla is here, the co-founder and CEO of Aviz. Great to have you on, Vishal. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me here.
2 days of coverage. We got the CFO AI kind of innovation story, and we also got the AI innovators here in Silicon Valley. We also do an East Coast version. And these are the leaders talking about AI. And I think the big aha moment is, and we're going to get into networking, but I want to set the table. It's a business model transformation.
Yes.
And the networking has always been the keys to the kingdom. At the end of the day, you got to move a packet from A to B.
That's right.
And packets are moving around everywhere.
Yes.
And up and down the stack, and everything's changing. So networking is still the hottest area, and that's where the security action is. That's where the speeds are.
Yes.
Latency is still the #1 conversation. You can't change the laws of physics,
yes,
as they say. So what's your take on the whole AI wave right now as you get into the whole networking?
Yeah, I mean, if you really see, what's driving the change for the networks is the total transformation of the infrastructure in total. And actually, infrastructure is driven by the need for the applications which are, AI hungry, and with respect to that, I mean, data hungry, right? Yeah. So GPU wave is going on, and attached with it, the distributive nature of the GPUs going on, which means the network has to be more bigger and bandwidth sensitive. So essentially, the GPUs and everything is giving birth to something like a distributive computing, and networks is the one which is holding it together. So that's what is happening in networking. But let me get back to 3 fundamental things which are changing the networking. So first thing first is the definition of compute is changing in today's world. It used to be the CPUs, and now it's going towards the GPUs, right? So that's essentially the #1 thing which is happening. And GPU is a different kind of a compute thing. It's just this, looks for that it does not, should not be idle, right? That's one of the KPI for the GPUs, very expensive and everything.
Although a lot of them are idle these days.
Right, and how it not be idle depends upon the network, right? So that's kind of pushing networks. So second pillar is that the applications are getting bandwidth hungry. Right, pretty much any application in today's world has, AI accelerated or AI chatbot or something like that, which actually is coming to have a lot more bandwidth and data coming in and out, right? So bandwidth is the another, the pillar. The third one is essentially every single, networks operator out there is looking for how do I use AI for the productivity gains, right? Essentially, how can I automate using AI the jobs which are mundane and routine, does not need human level of IQ, can be taken care, right? So these are the 3 different areas, and which is pretty clear with that the AI infrastructure is changing, but the bottom line is to change the AI infrastructure, you need a new networks. And the networks for AI and AI for networks has to happen for this dream of the AI infrastructure to become reality.
That was really well said, Vishal. And I think I'll put an exclamation point on it because we've been saying this on theCUBE a lot. The networking with these new clustered systems, you mentioned GPUs, I think that's the big one because the data centers now are changing.
Yes.
And there's networking within the systems that are impacting the old network. So you have this confluence network. So there is a reset.
Yes.
No doubt. But the networks just can't go away. They're still out there doing their job.
Yes.
So what are you guys doing? What's the venture you're attacking this market with? Because you're thinking differently. Yeah. What is the venture? What was the origination idea? How'd you come to it? When was it founded? Give us the story.
Well, okay, so me personally, have been an engineer. Started my career and everything like that. But the previous job before making Aviz Network, I was at Mellanox, and the job I was doing at Mellanox has gave me the exposure to talk to a lot of different customers and see the pattern which is happening in the industry, wherein the customers were looking for the disaggregation from the infrastructure layer to not only the applications, but also the data layer, disaggregation. And really those kind of transformation were driven by the hyperscalers, be it Microsoft, Google, Facebook. And these tier twos, which are not hyperscaler, but they are not small as well, wanted to actually replicate.
You mean Microsoft is a tier 2 and Amazon
No,
is
the
tier 1?
Microsoft is hyperscaler,
Okay.
so you say Fortune.
AWS is in the list too,
Yes,
right?
AWS is in the list, Alibaba, Baidu, Tencent, Google, these are all hyperscalers, massive scale and
Oracle?
everything. Oracle as well, I mean, I'll put them in that list, but think of the companies who are not selling networks per se, right? But they have
Who's
huge.
the tier 2 in your mind?
Well, so think about, Tesla, think about, let's say, eBay's, and
They're not hyperscale, but they're large enterprises.
but they are large enterprises, right?
That's right.
Those,
That's a good
those
point.
kind of, yeah, right?
They have complicated networks.
They have complicated networks, and they have a lot of money to save if they do the things right.
And they spend a lot of money.
Yeah, spend a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
So these guys are looking for, okay, how do we, put the networks exactly on how hyperscalers have done it? And when I was at Mellanox, I had the front row seat to actually see that how, hyperscalers are transforming their business. So essentially, this is something which I wanted to do. As for the large enterprises whose primary business is not to sell networks, as for the cloud service providers and everything. That's where the idea originated. And then how we transformed our idea. I mean, as you know, in Silicon Valley, you have to think about the idea a lot. You have to iterate a lot, talk to different customers and partners and investors and everything. And where it kind of synthesized towards it, actually two dimensions. One is that we want to have the networks made differently for the AI infrastructure. So that's the first dimension, and we call it networks for AI, right? The second dimension is that how do you put AI in managing the existing networks? You said that there are this existing networks, so, right? So how do you bring the technology of
unplug
AI,
them.
right? So these are the two dimensions where we are working towards. And when I say networks for AI, the networks could be data center networks, could be edge networks, could be newly formed GPU networks, right? Yeah. How do you make them better as the hyperscaler does it, do it? And actually, the other dimension is how do you put AI, the goodness of the LLM, the community, and the lot of light speed work which is happening in the AI space. How do you bring that in the everyday networking?
Okay, Vishal, first of all, you sold me on it. I was already convinced, but you sold me again that, yes, and those enterprises, by the way, are not only big, but they consume networks. They build their own. They have their own networks. So AI is great. So describe to me what you guys are doing. What is the new networking, the networks for AI? Yeah. What do you guys, how do you fit in? How does someone engage with you? Okay, you sold me. You can make my life easier. Tell me more.
So
Tell me more.
So the networks for future has to be built with the 3 C's as the pillar. And this philosophy has been very well, borrowed from what happened in compute 10 years back, right? So the philosophy is that when you make a networks, you should have the first C as the choices. You should not be, stuck on one single kind of a hardware or vendor or something like that. End of the day, the network job is to pass the packet. And if you are improving your network from, let's say, 100 to 400 or 400 to 800 gig, you should just do it. I mean, you should not be stuck with, okay, which vendor and how I'm going to do it, this protocol and that protocol. Just put the box, plug the wire, should work. Right? So choices should be there, right? The second thing is the control should be there. You see,
the control what?
The control of your operating layer, right? And which is very important because if you want to put
when you say operating layer, you mean management
the
layer?
network operating system, the management layer on top of it,
okay, got it.
And how do you use your data coming from that? That should be in your control because you see now the next thing you're going to do is put AI on top of it. And you will put AI only if you have unrestricted access to the data irrespective of which vendor you are using. And by the way, there is no vendor, there is no one vendor in the world who makes everything in infrastructure.
Everybody wants that abstraction layer. They want to be the control plane for AI.
Exactly, and that is data, by the way. The control plane for AI is data.
Semantic layer, harmonization layer, whatever you want to call it, it's a layer.
Exactly, right? So how do you control that layer? That's the second thing, right? And the third thing is the cost savings, right? You want to put your dollars into the next generation of things, which is making the AI or maybe buying GPUs nowadays, right? Maybe, I don't know, 2 years down the line where that money will go, but today it's buying GPUs, right?
Yeah.
So these are
But
the three Cs.
there's more coming. There's offloads happening big time. Starting to see massive new products on the offload side. So acceleration with GPUs.
Yeah.
Well, what's the offload doing?
So-
Offload security, offload.
It's the DPU thing,
yes,
right? So
yeah.
when you think, so let me just talk a little bit about that thing. So if you want to make a networks today, is comprised of a GPU or a CPU, whatever is your compute, right? Then you have a DPU or a NIC, which is the offload, or you don't want to do offload, put
Yeah,
NIC,
offload
right?
slash interconnect, whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then you put the networks. You will have one of four ASIC, probably Broadcom, Cisco, or NVIDIA, or Marvell, right? And then you will have some sort of a operating layer fabric manager or something like that, right? So what we are enabling, the choice is that customers can choose any DPU, any GPU slash CPU, or any ASIC of the networks, and we provide them a single operating plane with the data control given to the customers, and they can pick and choose any DPU, any CPU, any ASIC, or any operating system for that matter, and you just put the box as you want to put it. By the way, this is how hyperscaler do their business. I mean, that is how they do it, right? Yeah. That is what we are bringing towards the enterprise.
What's the equivalent hyperscale metaphor? Nitro for Amazon?
So Nitro is DPU equivalent, right? GPU is essentially the GPU, as you know, and all hyperscaler uses different ASIC.
I mean, they're basically building an architecture that's custom built for the scale of what they're doing. So what you're getting at is that enterprise should rethink their network architecture for AI.
Yeah, that's what it
you're
is.
saying.
And what I'm saying is that, look, I mean, you should be free to choose any vendor who gives you the best performance, best latency, and the best price. You should choose the best.
What's the disruption to operations? Because the number one concern, people, whoa, Vishal, hold on. Too much disruption. I gotta have to migration plan. Something could go down. Whoa. Take me through that objection.
Yeah, so you see, that's the beauty of it. We are not telling, don't.
That's why you're smiling. There's no disruption?
Well, so look, I mean, we are not saying, go and change the way you are doing networking. You use whatever vendor of switch you use. Just use that.
No rip and replace.
Yeah, you don't have to. I mean, you just, if you are.
That's the question. There's no rip and replace.
There's no rip and replace because we are not changing any ASIC. We are not changing any box. It's the same. The vendors are the same.
Plug into the network.
What we are saying is that we will give you an operating layer normalized, irrespective of which vendor switch you put.
How do I implement that? By plugging your box on the network and you auto discover, or you?
Yeah. So basically, you put the box the way you put today. You plug the same cable you put today, right? You give our appliance, it's a software appliance, and for the networks for AI, that's the first product. And it will basically realize that it's a Cisco switch, or it's a Arista switch, or it's a Juniper switch, or a white box switch, or which ASIC and everything. It'll get all the data, normalize it, and from your point of view, you does not now care about that what kind of a vendor is sitting underneath. You get one pane of glass for all your protocols, for all your traffic, all your alerts, all your performance SLA in a single pane of glass, and now you control the data as
Okay, so you give me some passive monitoring. I'm oversimplifying it, but I can see everything.
Yeah.
What action do I take?
You can basically configure the system. You can do orchestration, like maintenance windows, right? You wanna rip a faulty box and put a new box. The maintenance window, so all that operations layer of that is taken care. And not only for the CPU and everything, the beauty here is tomorrow if you wanna go to a GPU from H100 to 200, you just put in there, it'll start looking at it the way. If you wanna put a different DPU.
So that's why you call it a co-pilot.
The co-pilot is actually even on top. That's of course, the co-pilot can not only do this operation layer wherein it can orchestrate and
I like
observability.
the operations layer.
Yeah, but it can do even more. So for an example, today, there's a lot more security vulnerability kind of things happens, which basically results in a continuous upgrade of the networks because the vendor says, hey, change this operating system and everything. So, scanning that internet, looking at the vulnerabilities, and upgrading the networks automatically with the use of AI, that's one use case, right? Then auditing your infrastructure for security. Right? Today, how it happens is the admin will scan the whole network, make a manual report and everything. Now, those kind of things can be done by LLM. You train the LLM with the template of what report it is. The LLM will look at your network, look at that, okay, here is the configuration, here is the format which I should do, and you just say generate the security audit report as per NIST standard. So it knows what is the NIST standard,
Yeah.
it knows what is your configuration looks like, and it will give you a
The
200-page
networking
PDF.
is a nice area too because there's a lot of known information,
Yes.
but it's also dynamic when things are happening.
Yes, and it is
And
scattered
this
information.
policy has been around for a long time, notion of policy.
Yes.
Okay, so what's next? So how's business? Give us an update on the business. How many customers you have? You don't have to say.
So,
Maybe
business-
it's confidential, you don't have to say. But no, give us a taste for how people are engaging with you, why you're winning.
Yes.
And when do you get the opportunity? And when should someone know to call you?
Yes. So look, I mean, we just raised our Series A, and we've been one unique kind of a company which has created an ecosystem in the industry where all the switch vendors have been partnering with us, and many of them actually invested in Aviz Network. Right, so the vision which we have is actually not only endorsed by the customers, which we have, double-digit, some big and some small, a mixture of it, but the vision is also endorsed by the industry switch leaders who have invested in our company, and they think that we have that flag bearership of leading this networking industry from the networks from AI and the AI from networks point of view. So the business is doing good from that point of view. The fact that we just closed our Series A, the fact that we have been able to make an ecosystem with the leaders of networking and some the lighthouse customer from every different verticals, talk about e-commerce, talk about retail, talk about telco, talk about banking. Some of the biggest brand name customers we have who have been looking at, changing the new way of doing networks for AI and then disrupting the way they do work today with AI putting in there.
Yeah,
So,
that's awesome. And I think the idea of disruption and enablement, because if you can get in there without operational disruption, that's been the fatal flaw, the graveyard of all the attempts to try to come in and muscle in Cisco, come in, compete with some security vendors.
Yeah.
I mean, networks are there.
Yeah.
They're going to get smarter.
Yes.
And AI is a good opportunity. So I'm sure, imagine there's a lot of people who want to learn more about this opportunity.
oh yes, definitely. And the way we think at how AI gonna be inserted, in the networks and everything, it will start with the non-intrusive use cases, wherein the AI cannot just go and change the networks and everything, but actually the repetitive, mundane, and boring use cases.
All right.
That's where AI will come, assist the human, and that's where it will. I mean, think of Tesla. The first thing they did was the cruise control, which pretty much every car used to do with the
Everyone wants
radar,
that, yeah.
right?
Don't switch lanes. Don't
But they
move out of
did
my
it with
lane.
AI, and once they perfected that, the customers had trust on that AI. Then they did the switch lanes and the traffic light and everything. So that's how it's going to roll.
So
in networks.
what's your Tesla move then from your venture? What are you doing that's going to be earning the trust of the customer?
Well, I'll tell you this, right? We want to define that how the AI will help manage the networks in coming couple of years. I mean, that is a category to be made in the networking industry.
On how it should be managed.
And
Which
how it
means
should
get
be-
all the data first.
Exactly, and in a vendor agnostic way. You see, AI
Heterogeneous environments is the future.
is the future, right? So
Yeah.
how do you do it as a multi-vendor, vendor agnostic AI and a private AI? It's not a platform wherein I'm putting the a banking industry as well as say for example other industry which has totally two different KPIs in a single AI. That's not the
Yeah.
future. You have to have sovereign AI like Microsoft Jensen says.
People talk a big game when it comes to heterogeneous, but there's a lot of people who aren't incented by that behavior.
Exactly.
So you got to watch out.
Incentivized because that's how the DNA of the company we have put it together.
That's how you win customers.
That's how we win customer, right?
We're interoperable.
Yes,
We're
yes.
we're independent of any one vendor.
Exactly.
But then you're a vendor yourself.
Yeah, we are a vendor ourselves, and our strategy has been actually, very well validated by our investors. Most of them are actually networking gorillas. So that's.
I mean, the networking business, if you can get a Series A and you got some product market fit, it's a market where you really can't fake it.
Yeah,
You
of course.
can't. It's like cybersecurity. There's no fake it till you make it in networking.
That's right. I mean, the customer knows what they are getting.
In the AI game, it's a lot of faking it till you make it, and we've been calling that out. I mean, I tell people all the time, how do you tell the winners from the losers? And a lot of experts have shared that. Are you either producing AI or you're consuming AI.
Yeah.
And in most cases, that's the pure play producer, the big engineering, and then the consumers have data.
Yes.
And so I think an enterprise wants to consume AI.
Exactly.
But they
Yeah.
don't, they're not in the production of AI.
Yes.
They're
That's
using it.
they're
Because they got the
using it.
data. The
Yes.
keys to the kingdom is the data.
That's right. And they just look for the ROI that, how I'm going to save more using AI. That's what they look for.
Vishal, I have to ask you the question since you're networking industry legend, now on the CUBE network with the NYC Wired community. It used to be an expression, the networking guys have the keys to the kingdom. If you remember the old IT days.
Yes.
I'm old enough to remember those days. The app developers, IT would bow to the high priest of the networking. I control the networking, stay off my network.
Yeah.
Now networking is moving up the stack too.
Yeah.
But it's still the most important because that's where the security data is.
That's right.
You can't do lateral movement without being exposed on the network.
Yeah.
And that's one example of many in cybersecurity. And then just latency is a huge issue on edge AI. So if you want to do AI at the edge with inference,
Yeah.
you need to have
course.
low latency.
Low latency, yes.
Lowest as possible.
Yes.
We're back to networking again.
That's right. And, thanks to this, the applications which are more data hungry, of course, because of the AI and the GPUs, which can do a lot more as compared to what was possible 5-10 years back. The key piece which can make it work is networking, and that's why the focus is coming back to networking, because it could be your enabler, but it could also be your bottleneck. So it has to be done right.
Well, from the Mellanox days that, there's two strategies, closed and open.
Yeah.
And when you have an environment that's open and with heterogeneous networks, you can have choice at the edge. So you have identified something on the network that needs bigger GPUs or compute at the edge.
Yeah.
You got to know that.
Yes, definitely.
And if there's data there, you got to move data. That's expensive.
That's what it is, and this phenomenon is getting more and more because there is a pull from the GPU side that yes, I can do more, and then the applications are generating more data.
Yeah.
Right. So that's basically push and pull both.
Well, Vishal, thanks for coming on theCUBE. Give a quick plug to the folks watching. Why should they work with you? Give the pitch.
Well, so look, if you are upgrading your networks or putting the GPU cluster, give a shout out to us, and we basically will tell you how to do how the Fortune 100 companies have done with us. That's the first part. And the second part, if you at all think that how the infusion of AI in your networking infrastructure can give you some solid ROIs, then that's the second part where you should actually just reach out to us, and we'll tell you exactly how we have done it for other big companies.
Vishal, great to have you on. Thanks for joining our community and being part of theCUBE's special presentation. CEO and founder of Aviz Networking. This is the game, the clustered systems we've been reporting on theCUBE. Check out theCUBE research. Clustered systems, agentic systems, of course, tons of performance on training and inference at the infrastructure layer in the cloud. You're seeing these clustered systems have unique characteristics as a new kind of system. There's networking inside the system and outside, all around it. The game is changing.
It is definitely changing, and it's going to get interesting.
It is going to get fun, and also more important, price performance is going to get better and better. And once that happens, the AI wave will go another level. Of course, we're doing our part here at theCUBE. I'm John Furrier. Thanks for watching.
Thank you, everyone.